Miko, I just was wondering, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you would know better than I would, but my limited understanding was when people think of Nazi Germany, they always think of like the culmination of the atrocities that happened there.
The final solution.
Right. But wasn't that preceded by calls to relocate the Jewish population? And, you know, that was basically the plan. And then it kind of turned out, oh, that's really difficult and expensive and takes a really long time. And that then evolved into just unaliving them. And
no, they didn't relocate them. They relocated them into concentration camps, and then they turned concentration
first
camps.
ghettos, then concentration camps, then killing camps.
Right? They certainly did, and that's really what it sounds like. Moving them into concentration camps. It looked really pretty with really nice housing.
Right.
Yeah, right. You
like,
know,
would it be fair to say that it could be concerning that this is just one of those steps leading to that?
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yeah.
Without question. You know, in all my years of doing this, I've never, ever made the comparison with the Nazis. I never brought up the Nazis. Now it is appropriate.
Right.
Now, since October 7th, it is appropriate. They've taken, and it's already happened because, you know, the Gaza Strip is a concentration camp. Right. It was created as a concentration camp in order to place where they could herd all these Palestinians who were dislocated, who were subjected to ethnic cleansing from other parts of Palestine. And so they put them in this place, closed it up, called it the Gaza Strip, and started bombing them and killing them way back when they created in the early 1950s. Now they've turned that camp into a death camp. And now they want to move them even out of that death camp, like you're saying, somewhere else. And what's going to happen? What are they going to do? Give them all this money is going to come from all these different countries. This is, you know, this is some kind of weird fiction. I don't know where he pulls out this nonsense from.
Yeah,
of course that's what it is. It's about the elimination of a nation. It's about the elimination of a people. It's about the elimination of a culture. It is genocide, textbook genocide.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Nazis wanted to do. Even the language. I mean, they're not even embarrassed.
Lebensraum. There was an article. There was a headline about Lebensraum. Yeah, and they're
not embarrassed to use this language.
It's interesting because we had Asad AbuKhalil on, who's Lebanese American, and he said something. He was like, all my life, because he's very he's a big opponent of anti-Semitism. He thinks like very strongly that you can't have anti-Semitic allies in the movement.
I would never join alliance with anti-Semites. I reject anti-Semites when they creep into our movement.
And he said all of his life he avoided. He thought it was like disrespectful to compare what Israel was doing to what the Nazis did.
I used to sternly warn Arabs against any Nazi analogies or against any Holocaust analogy. I was very firm about it. I wrote in Arabic about it. I gave speeches, interviews about it. I never accepted it because I read enough about the Holocaust, and I believe there should be a special solemnity and respect for the victim of the Holocaust, for the uniqueness of the horrors inflicted on the Jewish people at the time. And I have not deviated from that respect. But now, since October 7, I argue that out of my deep respect for the victims of the Holocaust and the crimes inflicted by Nazi Germany, if we see any resemblance in current times, we need to speak out against it. And it is in that spirit that I now say it is not politically or PR convenient that we invoke the Nazi or Holocaust analogy in regard to the State of Israel, but it is morally the right thing to do because there are clear analogies. I mean, when you have officials of Israel giving material for the petition by South Africa, in which they say we want to deprive them of food, of water, of electricity. I mean, they make their intention of genocide very clear. In that sense, we will say, this is very much like Nazi Germany. If anything, I mean, Nazi Germany, they used to be less explicit. They would speak behind closed door. The Nazis of Israel today, they were very open about it. They are totally explicit.
And then I had Wallace Shawn on, and right at the end of the show, I'm going to show a clip of Wallace Shawn comparing them to the Nazis.
I mean, the Israelis invaded somebody else's territory. They took people's homes. and they did many of the things that the Nazis did to the Jews, and they're really doing it.
Right.
Now they really are doing evil that is just as great as what the Nazis did.
And as you know, I'm making this documentary about Holocaust survivors, Jewish Holocaust survivors, speaking out against what Israel's doing. And for a lot of them, there is a comparison.
I mean, I see it as genocide. I see it as equivalent. You know, it's difficult for me to say that, but it's equivalent to what happened in the Holocaust. Now, you could say the numbers are different. You can get into all these distractions, etc. But in terms of what it's doing and what it's done, humiliation is a big part. And the Israeli military learned that from the Nazis as well. The Nazis, the first step the Nazis were going to do was humiliate the Jews by cutting off their beards or making fun of them, etc., etc. And the Israelis do the same thing to the Arabs.
I would say that what's happening in Gaza resembles the Holocaust that I lived.
And of course, the point isn't to say, well, unless it's the exact same number of people killed, and unless it's the exact same manner of destruction, the same mechanism of killing, then who cares? It's only never again if it's the exact same thing. I mean, that's like the biggest perversion of never again. But we know that there are two reactions to this stuff. One means never again is used to justify anything that's done in defense of the Jews. And I put the Jews in quotes because, as we know, it's not to help Jews or protect Jews. It's to further a Zionist project that actually endangers Jews. And then the other never again that I identify with, and that all these people I'm making this film about who are absolute heroes, for them, it really is never again. Like, we didn't survive this so that a government in our name could claim to be doing this. It's just such a disgusting, sick thing. There's a guy who's on the board of the Holocaust Museum Council of the United States. He's the son of Holocaust survivors, and he wrote an op-ed calling all people in Gaza guilty and saying like you should have no mercy for them. Let Donald Trump make Gaza great again opinion. If he receives the international support he deserves, President Trump will succeed at making Gaza great again. He does not believe that Gazans are worthy of any mercy. So according to this son of a survivor and someone who's on the board of a Holocaust council, the people of Gaza are not worthy of any mercy, and they are collectively guilty for invading Israel, murdering, raping, and kidnapping Israelis and holding them hostage. And that person's name is Martin Olander. So shout out to Martin Olander for learning the absolute worst lessons of the Holocaust. And it makes me think like, oh, you would have been a Nazi if you could have been. Like, you're the son of a Holocaust survivor, but you probably would have been on the side of Nazis if you hadn't been stopped, by your Jewishness. But watching people take away from the Holocaust we are going to collectively punish children because of October 7th is just repulsive.
There are many people that say that the problem with the Holocaust was not that the genocide, it was that they were killing the wrong people.
Right.
Had they been killing Africans or Arabs or anybody like that, it would not have been a big deal. And as far as people like him are concerned, murdering people is perfectly acceptable if we don't like them. It's very interesting because the Israeli Army Chief of Staff just resigned, taking responsibility for October 7th failures. And the new guy that's coming in said that something very interesting along those lines. He said that the civilian population, basically has to be held accountable for the support, the logistics, the encouragement that they provide to those who commit the acts of violence. So basically, until now, the argument was, well, we kill civilians because the terrorists are shooting rockets from their apartments or from neighborhoods or from schools or whatever the case may be, or hospitals. He's elevating it to a whole different level. He says the civilian population on its own carries responsibility because they are supporting these violent groups. So that basically gives license to murdering civilians, not only in Gaza, but in Tel Aviv, because Israeli army headquarters is a massive base, and it's in downtown Tel Aviv. It's one of the most, it's one of the most expensive parts of Tel Aviv. There's residences and museums and cafes all around there. So basically, it's giving license to kill everybody in Tel Aviv because they support and give encouragement and live in that space. And not only Tel Aviv, there are a lot of other cities that have, and the same thing in the United States. People in San Diego. San Diego has many military bases. So what he's saying is the people are guilty because they live there, and military bases exist mostly in places where people live. This is a really, really dangerous thing to say. And what this guy was saying, that there's no mercy for the people in Gaza because they're all guilty, this is the same rationale. What they're not understanding is that by saying that it's okay to do this to Palestinians in Gaza, they're saying it's okay to do it across the board. So if tomorrow morning there was a massive killing of, I don't know, some people in Tel Aviv or in San Diego, any other place where there's, or Florida, places where there's massive military bases, close to or in cities, then they're saying it would be okay because the civilian population carries a responsibility for supporting the military.
Right.
And it's an elevation of the argument for killing civilians that is extremely dangerous. Now, this guy, the leader of the Israeli army, says it. It carries a lot of weight. It's a big deal. It's not a small thing. This is the kind of discourse that exists today. I mean, people are not embarrassed to be genocidal. They're not embarrassed to express this kind of horrific genocidal tendencies. They're maniacs. And why they hold positions of power in Israel, we can understand. Why they hold a position of influence here in the United States. Why are people like that allowed to be part of the Holocaust industry, if you will? It's a mystery to me.